Guys, welcome again. We're going to talk about the result from yesterday. Arsenal 2, Crystal Palace 2. We're just waiting for El Bono to come into the chat so we can get discussing about yesterday's events, which was eventful to say the least. So let's just hold the line and just see where our guest Bonnie is. He's still not entered the building, but we keep talking about it. Wait, here we go. We got El Bono inside the building. El Bono, here he comes. Here he comes in the building. Um, and, yep, here he is.
Yeah, come on.
Hey, Bobby, what's going on? How we doing, man?
Stress, man. Stress. Arsenal's got me stressed, man.
Mate,
We watched the game last night, and yeah, I was just saying to you before that it wasn't an enjoyable game to watch. But I'm sure we're going to get into the details as we go on. But yeah, no, like when the game finished, I just came out of that, and I had to go out for a cigarette, man, because I was just like, man, stressed just watching it. I don't know how you thought about it.
Oh man, to be honest, Bon, I was watching it. I didn't go to the game yesterday. I was at home. I was actually put the game on in the bath, and I had the earpods on. I was living life, and yeah,
You need that, yeah.
I
Just
was
to
1-0
relax
up when I
yourself.
tuned in. I missed the first goal by a little bit because I was. Oh, wait there, Bon. Wait there, Bon.
Yeah, no, you're good. You're good. Seems to have cut out again.
Yeah, Bon. Sorry. I think that was a connection issue, but we're back. We're back. Yeah, say that again. Let's say that last little bit again. Sorry, I missed it.
No, I was kind of like, I was trying to hear your take on the game. You're talking about you just chilling in the bath. You had the scene set, Arsenal
Yeah.
playing in the background. Like, what's your thoughts on
Right.
it?
So I when I tuned in, we looked like we was on top. We looked like we was absolutely bossing it. I saw some different things. I heard rumours of Odegaard being used in the deep line in playmaker a few weeks back, and it was actually being deployed for the first time against Palace. And when I tuned in, I liked what I was seeing initially because I remember when we had Danny Ceballos there with the quality, that technical player alongside Xhaka last year, and I thought Partey and Thomas Odegaard. Odegaard works hard and he's creative on the ball. I was interested to see how it would work. And when I was initially watching it, we were setting up chance after chance, and we just didn't take the additional the chances we had to go two up, and ultimately we paid the price for it. And then what I watched for the following 60 minutes, 70 minutes, I don't know what it was, but it was one of the most frustrating performances I've seen Arsenal play for a long, long, long time. And it's not the fact that it wasn't the fact, it was frustrating in the sense of I seen us play terrible and disgraceful and embarrassingly, but it was just frustrating in the sense was we had a discussion on the live chat a few days ago, yeah. And I was saying that I wanted to see more end product. I don't mind the retaining of possessions, but I need to see more end product. I don't want to just see us. I know there's a time and a place to punch a team, and for the last hour, I just kept seeing us pass it back. And the only thing I can assume is one or two things: players aren't trusting players, they're not being brave to play certain passes, and they're always going for the safe pass, or the option's just not there. And I think after a while, it might have been a mixture of all four of those things, but my goodness, it was really hard to watch. And I think the fans in the end had enough of watching the balls being played backwards. But yeah, we struggled yesterday, and it was highly disappointing. So I guess in a second we can talk about a few of the key points of the game. Where one of the key points I would say is it was highlighted, and something we was looking at a long time ago, and we spoke about it last week again, and I'm going to come back to it because that's why on the first podcast one we spoke, Bob, sorry, is we spoke about the central midfield. We
Just going to
spoke
correct you there. It's Air Bobby.
Hey, Bobby.
With a
My bad.
boom.
My bad.
Boom, bro. bring back the Invincibles, man.
Yeah.
But yeah.
but yeah, man. Like, yeah, we got to laugh, man. It's like what we was watching yesterday, but
it's mad. I mean, I said before as well that you know, like you, obviously, I tuned in. Maybe I missed like the first 20, 25 minutes.
Yeah.
And well, basically, I tuned in when we were 1-0 up, and you know, from what I was watching, we looked like we were the away team. We were playing defensive. We just literally gave possession to Palace, and we just said to them, "Look, you have the ball," and then it looked like we were trying to say, "You try and break us down," but we couldn't even have the possession football to try and keep possession. You know, we can maybe analyze it in a bit more detail later, but you know, the way that we were trying to play out from the back, we couldn't string more than 3 or 4 passes together, and because of that, you know, Crystal Palace capitalised. They won the ball back quick. They played a nice like high line. They're able to kind of keep. They kept possession a lot better than us. And I mentioned at half time, I had to check the stats because I couldn't believe we were at home. I looked and I think they had more possession, they had more passes, they made more tackles. I think even the shooting was level, three shots on target apiece. But for me, I'm watching that game and I'm thinking something's going to happen. You know, Palace look like the team that's going to be scoring. They're the one that's taking control of the game, and I can see what was coming. You know, and if I can see what was coming in that first half, then surely Mikel Arteta should have looked at that and thought, you know what, something's not working, and then be a lot more proactive and make, whether it's a tactical change. I know obviously, you know, he made a change at half time, and you can probably touch on that in a minute, but I didn't think the change of bringing in a Lokonga had the effect that he wanted, and I think that change was forced because Saka was injured. He was literally forced to come off the pitch, which meant he had to then put in Lokonga there. So whether, you know, he gave them the instruction that Partey needs that support, but now, I mean, what I mean by just being stressed is just like watching us, and I was thinking, damn, is this how far we're falling? In that we're at home, got all of our fans there supporting the team. You know, I can't fault the players too much because from what I saw, they were working hard. I saw Aubameyang just like literally working like a donkey, chasing everything down. But the press wasn't a team press; it was more like an individual press. There was like too much of a delay in his teammates reading the situation and saying, "Okay, then Aubameyang set the press. Let's all go as a team." And it just meant that Palace were just able to kind of outplay that press fairly easily. And then just counterattack. And, you know, obviously their goals came from a couple of individual mistakes. But, you know, like the mistakes aside, I think no one can say that Palace didn't deserve anything from that game because of the way that they played. So if we're going to say, you know, oh yeah, it's Arsenal, we made a couple of individual errors, you know, maybe, you know, bringing in someone else in the midfield, like a Xhaka, for example, that would have changed the way the game went. I'll have to argue with you because, you know, I don't know if you want to talk about it now, but we can talk about the tactics from our fullbacks, you know, how defensively they were, how that, you know, Tierney was getting the ball up wide and just his first thought was passing it back into his defenders, or, you know, there's no forward thinking. And even at 2-1 down, we kept playing the same way. And the fans were just kind of like, you know, pushing the players on to try. And, you know, Martinelli came on, gave us a bit of a boost, putting in some, you know, decent crosses in there. But yeah, no, I was very kind of disappointed with the fact that this isn't the first time that you've seen a game under Mikel Arteta and you're crying out for him to make a change because you can see the wave and the way the game is going, and you're trying to, you know, get a foothold in the game and get some type of control. So yeah, I was disappointed that he didn't kind of react and, you know, at least make the team adjust to the type of pressure that Palace was putting on us. You know, so that's the bit that it still for me puts a big question mark on him and whether he's able to kind of react to these things or whether. I don't know, man. What other reason is there? I don't know.
Well, I don't know if we can put. I don't know if this context added to it because we watched Chelsea play Brentford, and they didn't play. They were lucky to come out with 3 points. Let's be honest. Brentford should have equalised, but they did have a few injuries. And I'm just thinking we had a 2 week break in terms of the international break. I saw that some of the Mikel Arteta was out in Dubai. Some of the players went to different countries. They had a little gap and a little break because I'm not sure how much of that played a part in preparations for this game. I don't want to give excuses, but I'm looking at Crystal Palace and the way they were drilled. It's like they spent 2 weeks on a game plan and they followed that game plan to a T. When you saw how the positions them guys took up, that means they set traps from all over the park. We couldn't get out. We struggled. Well, we didn't. It's not that we couldn't get out. We struggled to beat the press time and time again because of the way they positioned themselves. And then when you looked back at ours, we took the lead and we started well, but then we didn't. The fragilities came to the forefront and you could see the gap. So, for example, I felt at one point we just decided to soak up the pressure, become really deep, and therefore our press was we pressed from too deep, if that makes sense. So I feel like I feel like our positioning, we should have been higher up the pitches because when I was watching Palace time and time after again, for them to beat our press, it was so easy. One touch play, one touch, one touch. They just played a few triangles and the press was beat. And we had one player chasing and it wasn't in packs as Wolves. And the press, the distances we had to cover on the press was a lot shorter than the distances Palace had to cover on the press. So therefore, when our players was receiving a ball, someone was there to hit him straight away, smash him. Regardless, we'll get to officiating in a sec, but they were there to hit them on the tackle, on their touch. But when it came to our press, we're sprinting after people and one man's sprinting and then the second man's not reacting to the sprint. And I just felt it was a bit after a while, after the initial part of the game, we just became so disjointed. And
it was too easy, wasn't it? It was just too easy for Palace to just play around that press. And like you said, the way that they position themselves, it wasn't as if you're playing, I don't know, like Brighton, for example, where they kind of hurry you out of possession. You know, they press you. The centre backs are being completely pressed. Whereas I think the way that Palace approached it, it was almost like a game of chess in that they had players positioned in certain areas of the pitch that when Arsenal defenders had the ball, they looked up and they had no one to actually pick out with the pass. So, you know, when you have that limited options in terms of playing the passes, then it was easy for them to then intercept the ball. So the ball will then be, you know, pressed into someone that's already got a man on him, or you know, we'll play a couple of passes and then obviously try and hit the long ball to, I don't know, Pepe or, you know, Smith Rowe on the wing. And it was just too predictable.
It was way too predictable.
It was way too predictable.
Do you think that preparation, the international break, had anything to do with the way they prepared for the game? Did they have more time?
For Palace or for us?
For Palace. Do you reckon they prepared better for the game than we did?
For me,
or do you reckon that plays a role?
I think the fact that we played on a Monday should have been a benefit to the team. You know, okay, Palace may have less players on international duty. I can't, you know, I don't know how many of their players were international duty, but yeah, okay, they would have had more time to prepare for the game. However, if you look at, you know, the other big teams that are in the Champions League or, you know, they had players on international duty as well. And they've had to come in on a weekend and get a result. You know, you can obviously say United didn't do well. Chelsea got a point. You know, Liverpool obviously hammered Watford. You know, so you can maybe argue that some of their players may have been a little bit fatigued or tired. But for us, you can't have the same argument because we had that weekend. Players
And
that
you
came
are,
back to the club on a Thursday or Friday, they had the whole weekend to rest up, and then you can play up on a Monday. So I think they should have done a lot better in what they produced on the pitch. And for me, I don't think it's even the energy of the players. I just think that tactically it was all wrong.
yeah. Well, clearly that something wasn't working when you're being, despite what the XG says, which says we should have scored more goals than they should have scored, they were clearly outplaying us in every position of the park. They were dominating that. Palace had the game under control. In that, it seems like they were controlling the game over us controlling the game, and it seems like you could feel that there was tension in the team, like in terms of they didn't want to play passes and beat the press anymore. They started to go long, and there wasn't no calm in terms of how we want to play in terms of retaining possession. But is that something that we have to expect now as this is a new team that's being formed? It's also a young team that we're starting with. Do we have to expect that there will be weeks like this where we lack experience and a bit of know-how? We have to, we don't have them enough leaders on the pitch to say, look, this ain't working for us. Let's just hold in, dig in, boys, do the right things for a few minutes. Because I feel like both the goals we conceded yesterday were okay. We were victims of. I personally believe we were victim of poor officiating, but a lot of both goals we conceded, I think, came from mistakes.
I agree, and I think for me, I watched Arteta's post-match press conference, and he kind of alluded to the fact that the goals that we conceded were down to the fact that we were just playing that negative football. That's what he alluded to, and I have to agree with him. At half time, from his post-match press conference, he actually said to the players, "Take the risk. I want you to play more. That I wouldn't say attractive football, but I want you to go for the second goal.
Yeah,
let's not be happy with the one goal."
Yeah,
and he even said himself, the players just were doing the opposite. The fullbacks were playing defensively rather than, there was a couple of moments where I saw Tomiyasu and he had like a player in front of him. He could have passed him the ball and he just thought, nah, I'm going to go backwards. And even that was at 2-1. And you heard the fans were just like, they weren't happy with that negative football. And, I think Martinelli coming on gave us a bit of a boost. Got the fans back on side, and Lacazette obviously with his work rate and the fact that he used G'ing up the fans as well brought the fans back on side. But yeah, it's mad, isn't it? It's I think Arteta's got his work cut out, and going back on, is it a defensive mistake? I think it's more of the fact that the way that we're playing and the fact that we couldn't beat the press. It's easy to say that we're playing kind of like this defensive football, but I just don't think the players knew how to progress the ball from the back to the midfield and to the striker. They just didn't know how to do it. Tierney had it on one side, Tommy had it on the other side. He'll look up, and for him, there's no options to hit.
There's no options. And there's times in that second half I was looking up at, they had, like, obviously we're watching it on TV, but they showed a camera from the higher second, like from the second tier, and you get their overall picture where you could see like 3 or 4 players standing near from the left back to the left centre back to the other centre back. These players aren't going to get hit. They're not going to. Then these players should be closer to the ball as an option, even if it's a one touch. Like where you've got create angles, create triangles. These guys were high. I don't want to say they were hiding, but they were too far to affect the play. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, so say if you're on the left wing, these guys were up over on the right wing and hiding, and there's no options to play them. The only way to get to them is sideways passing. This was what we saw going across the pitch, but there was no decisive, concise, cutting the line passes coming, playing through the lines. I know we didn't see enough of that, and I just think it was a really disjointed display and a frustrating display from. I think the defence can played a massive part in that. I think they did go long too much. I feel like I saw Thomas Partey at one point looking at Ramsey and said, "No, slow down, slow down, slow down." So when you see body language like that, you just get the feelings that the players are struggling. And I feel centre midfield, Mikel Arteta was a central midfielder. That part of the pitch is crucial. It's not a part to play with. It's not a part to play with. You have to be able to. I am not a fan. I say I'm not a fan. Maybe I don't know if it will work or not. I'm trying to work out about Smith Rowe as well. Smith Rowe in a number 10. I like what Smith Rowe brings to the team. I like that he can drive at players, but does he have that quality in terms of creativity, or does he have that decision making in his game that position requires? I don't know
think
if
it's just a consequence of relying on too many youngsters. That's just what you're going to get. You're going to get those inconsistent performances. Smith Rowe's going to be brilliant 1 minute. I think he on international duty he got man of the match for England, didn't he?
Yeah.
Where he scored that goal and he kind of had a lung busting run from within his penalty box. And then obviously finished on the opposition side's penalty. So, he's not going to be. You're not going to be getting 7 to 10 performances from him game in, game in, game out. So, when like I think I mentioned to you before that we have like the youngest squad in the Premier League. There's no experience, and we haven't touched on it yet. But Xhaka is someone that was missed in our defensive midfield position. But the question is, would he have had a meaningful impact to get a positive result? I still don't know yet, but I do know he was missed in that midfield today. Last night.
One thing Xhaka, sorry, Bon, just on that point there, one thing Xhaka does give to you, regardless of what people say, and he has made a few mistakes, and the mistakes will flag up to you. He can make one mistake and it will outdo all the good stuff he does, But one thing you cannot say about Xhaka, he is always an outlet for the goalkeeper. The goalkeeper doesn't need to go long every time. He's always an outlet for the right back or left back. He's always in position. He holds that position and he's able to change the angles. Xhaka is good for beating the press. He's a good man.
You saw how good he was, didn't you, against Spurs?
And he's a one-touch. He's a one-touch.
Partey needs that wingman there with him. So it gives Partey a bit more license as well to run further forward and be less afraid of playing them through balls. When Partey is in that number 6 position, if he loses the ball, then the opposition is going to be straight at a goal. Whereas when he's playing with Xhaka, it's got that additional protection there that when he does bomb a little bit further forward, Xhaka is going to be there, whether he's in that teeny position or whether he's kind of filling in that hole. So, I think he was missed. But again, would the result have been different? I don't know, man, because I'm looking at it now and I'm thinking we obviously threw the first 3 games of the season because we didn't have the players and had a lot of issues around COVID and player fitness and whatnot. And since obviously the close of the transfer window, we've got a settled squad now. We know what our back line is. Ramsdale has come in. It's kind of helped shore up our back line. So defensively, we look a lot more solid. Thomas Partey's now coming in and is trying to gain that kind of competitive match fitness. It would have been better if he didn't play for Ghana during the week, but it is what it is. He kind of got tired as the game wore on. And, there's people saying about, Partey was in the midfield. Yes, he was on his own. And, for me, I look at that and I'm thinking in previous games or games gone by, we at home against a Crystal Palace team, we could have afforded to have one defensive midfielder. Someone just sat there. Because we're so much possession based, our line would have been right on the halfway line. We could afford to have that single lone defensive midfielder. But like you said yourself, I mean, the gap was just so big between our defense and our midfield and our attack that it looked like there was a gaping hole when Partey is literally on his own in the midfield, just trying to carry the fight. And okay, you can probably argue and say, look, Lokonga came in the second half and we looked even worse with him having a partner there. And then it goes back to what I was saying about, Xhaka being missed because he's the one that can hold his position. He can sit there and he can be disciplined in that position, was it defensive mistakes that cost us today? Yes. But I still go back to the fact that, after that 20-minute period, the game plan, I don't know, man, I just couldn't see any game plan. I couldn't see how the guys were playing. I didn't understand what they were trying to do. Every third pass was just poor. It was just giving possession away. So for me, it doesn't look like they're doing the type of possession-based football in training. And I can't see evidence of that on the field of play in the way that they're trying to play these games, because, I had nothing to go on. So yeah, it is what it is. But
you know what? Yeah, I know. It's that old cliche where people say there's a way to lose football matches, and I think that the way we, you know what? Listen to me. We're talking about losing, and we didn't actually lose. We got to remember it was a draw. It was a 2-2 draw when we was playing, shockingly. But again,
like a loss though, yeah, because obviously it's Palace. But yeah, you're right. Let's not forget Palace. We haven't beaten Palace in, what is it? Is it
4 years?
A few years now. Yeah,
4 years.
Yeah. So are they now a new bogey team?
They are, and I think this is it. I think maybe it's a bigger disappointment for some, because I know that a lot of people are looking at this game as a banker. And
I was one of those people. I was looking at this to say it's a banker. You got Palace at home after the international break, man. What more can you ask for? A home game on a Monday night. Players have come back. They've had some time to put their feet up and rest a little bit.
Yeah,
but
the days of me calling, I don't look. We could be playing. The only games when you get to League One and League Two, then I start saying, right, this should be a banker, man. Championship, I'm thinking we better win. But when it comes to Premier League or anything like this, I'm always like, it's always, let's see what happens. Premier League, let's see what happens, because, even against Norwich, you know what, Bon, but maybe are we being too harsh, because we are putting a lot of new players in the team. When you look at the starting lineup, let's go through it. In fact, Bon, how do you feel about Ramsdale yesterday?
I don't think you can fault him much for the 2 goals. If you're being harsh, you can maybe look at the Edouard goal and say, had he had a better sight on it, then he would have made a better save. But I think the fact that he was blinded by Ben White had a massive impact on him being able to save it. So I don't blame him for that. And if you look at before half time, he had a good save against Gallagher as well. Where he had to obviously, that was a good save. So
it's a good save. It's a good save, but again, it's a save I expect him to make at his near post. I don't expect.
But if you look though, he like before that incident, he had I think it was a corner that came in or a cross that came in, and he came in amongst them. He managed to hit the punch. And then get back into position, and then he had to dive straight away. So, which is why I think that save was even better. But in terms of his performance, I don't really.
Out of 10, give him an out of 10. Give him a 10 out of 10 mark.
Out of 10, I'll give him. I'll probably say 6.5. I can't give anyone. I can't give anyone higher than a 7 because of the way that game was played. But I'll. It didn't have many saves, I don't think. I looked at it at half time. There was 3 shots they faced, but the 3 shots they faced were quite tame. And Benteke's goal was good. But yeah, I'll give him a 6. I'll give him a 6.
I'm actually going to give him a 5. I'm giving him a 5 based on. I'm not trying to be over critical or over harsh or anything like this, but I'm giving him a 5 based on. No worries. I'm giving him a 5 based on his. I feel like he like how we've been calm and relaxed at the back. I think that's been based on a lot of it's come from the defence and starting with Aaron Ramsdale. Yesterday, I felt there was something. I felt his distribution at times felt like he was playing for Sheffield United. I felt like he forgot he was playing for Arsenal now. Like I felt sometimes at times he needs to keep the ball down and he's going long. I know there's times when he does need to go long, and we've been guilty of overplaying sometimes when it's not on at the back. But I feel the saves he made, he had to make. Question marks over. I don't think he could have done anything about Benteke's goal. It's a good finish, but the Eduardo's goal, it's right in the centre. I don't know if he could have done a little bit better. I don't know if Bernd Leno would have made that save, as he's a good, really
onside,
good.
Though I think if you look at the angle that he had, he
Poor
was onside
defending,
to Ben White, and for me, I know it's harsh, but I can probably I'm more blaming Ben White than I am Ramsdale, because I think the way that the backing off that Ben White was doing, you could have just challenged him earlier on before he went into the box.
Yeah, all right,
just give the yellow card away. So yeah, I think for me, Ramsdale and the reason I gave him a 6 is I don't think in terms of, I think it's more of a trust thing. He didn't trust his players to be able to play out of the Crystal Palace press, which is why he was going long. There's previous games where you've seen him, play the ball on the floor. So I think it's a consequence of that.
Maybe I'm being a bit harsh, but maybe.
All right, 5.5 then, yeah?
Yeah, well, yeah. What about Tommy? What are we giving Tommy?
Tommy, I would say I'd have to give him. I'd have to give him because I don't want to be harsh on him. I'd have to say 6 for him as well, because the goals weren't his fault. 2 mistakes, and I think he'd done his job. The only thing I'd say is that offensively, he could offer us a lot more. But yeah,
I feel exactly the same. I feel like he wasn't offered much protection. Nicolas Pepe did try at times to get back, but I feel like there was a lot of times when Tommy had to deal with 2 players, and I feel defensively he stood up to the test. I feel going forward, are we starting to see his shortcomings as a player? Because initially there was all this hype because we saw he was solid. We saw he defended well, and we was like, everyone was purring about it. But now is this all that Tommy's going to provide us, like being a solid right back and not really offer us much going forward? Because there was time yesterday where I've seen him go long and playing the ball to a nobody. And for a club like,
his lines, wasn't he?
He's clearing his lines, and I feel like, but then all that does is it just went back to Palace and they start again. And I always look at stuff like that. I always think like the quality defenders, the basic defenders. I was watching Newcastle play Tottenham on the weekend, and I was watching Lascelles, and I thought, damn, this player, he's crap. This guy is absolutely crap. Like he's hoofing it when there's no one around him out for a throw. Like we're playing at Little League or something like this. When you're playing at Premier League level, you think, get the ball down, keep the ball. It's basics, yeah. So I feel like I'm hoping that it's just a one-off poor day at the office for a lot of players. And I feel like defensively, yeah, you're right, he did his job. So I'll back you on that and give him a 6. But it's I want to see more. I want to see a little bit more. I don't know what the tactics are. I don't know what he's being told as tactically. So I'm not going to criticise him if maybe he's been told just to hold back. But I didn't see much overlapping runs, getting forwards, dribbling with the ball. So yeah, let's just stick with a 6. Ben White, let's get to him.
Ben White, I think I'd have to give him a 5. I think the fact that he probably lost most of his aerial duels. Okay, I know Benteke is a big man, so most centre backs will lose their aerial duels against him. I think he could have read the situation a bit earlier. With the second as wild goal. He was just backing off, and once you're in your penalty area and you're in the box, you can't touch him. You're untouchable. So, I'd seen him kind of concede the yellow card by just giving the foul away on the edge of the box.
Yeah.
And then see what Palace does. So for me, and for that reason alone, I'd just give him a 5. I wasn't impressed. And just on the other point as well, I don't think his distribution was that good either. He was just too much dilly-dallying on the ball. And we've seen a bit of that with Ben White recently as well.
Is that his fault? Is that his fault, or is that what options he had in front of him?
It's a bit of both, yeah. I think if you're a centre back, and for me, I've watched Arsenal sides in the past where we just kind of make quick decisive movements and passes. And when your centre backs are just dilly-dally in, they take a slow touch, they're looking up, taking an age to make a decision. I mean, sometimes I'd rather you play the quick 1-2, even if it's with your fullback. Just keep the opposition players guessing. But when you're touching a ball, you're slow, then you're passing at the last minute. You know, you kind of close those angles, and you don't have that option of having the return ball. You know, then you've got to do pass and move. And if you're not moving and you stay in the same position, so for me, I thought he just slowed the game down a bit too much for me. And yeah, I'm probably being harsh on the Edouard goal, but I'd have to give him a 5.
Yeah, I do like what Ben White was going to offer us going forward. I was probably still finding his way in the team. But I like the fact that he's not a donkey with the ball. He's got a lot more quality than what we previously had in Rob Holding. I'm not saying Rob Holding's a donkey on the ball, by the way, but I just feel like Ben White offers us a little bit more quality. Probably not his best day in terms of. I don't think he was terrible. He could have done, but it's hard when you've got a player running at you like that.
Yeah,
Ed
I think I'm being harsh to giving him the 5. I think I'm being harsh. I probably should give him a 6 because he was involved in that goal as well for Lacazette at the end. So he had that shot, didn't he, where it pinged off of, I can't remember who it was, but then it landed on Lacazette's foot and tap in. So I'll have to change that, man. I'll give him a 6.
What about Gabriel?
Gabriel, again, for me, he wasn't that imposing as a centre-back. I think the fact that he was so flat-footed against a Benteke, and Benteke is not the most dynamic of centre-forwards. You knew that Benteke is going to cut it into his stronger foot and strike it from there. And I thought in that moment, he was just too flat-footed. And Benteke being Benteke, he's not the quickest person, like I said. I thought if he kind of played it right, he could have probably got a block off.
Yeah.
But apart from that, I don't think he's done too much wrong. You know.
Yeah, and I feel like at the end, Gabriel was a massive positive influence in terms of he was really he was getting higher up the pitch, really trying to make things happen, and he was passing out hard you can tell he really was trying to push the team on.
I'd have to give him probably the same as Ben White and go for a 6.
Yeah, and he was aggressive. He's aggressive. I still think he's looking a lot better this year than at times last year. What about Kieran Tierney? I'll give him a 6 too, by the way. Kieran Tierney.
I don't know what's happened to Tierney.
Yeah.
For me, I thought it was poor.
Yeah.
And I say he's poor because a lot of our gameplay is geared to getting the best out of Tierney. You know, I know obviously when Xhaka's there, he kind of slots into his position and allows him to kind of be further forward. But I was thinking, I don't think I remember him taking his man on once. I don't think I remember any crosses from him actually.
Yeah, he did put a few crosses in, but he didn't get to the byline, not like last year. This is the thing, we've got a lot of players that I feel are playing under par at the moment, and I still feel like Kieran Tierney's season hasn't started yet.
No, I mean, I think I mentioned to you before, he looks like he's playing with like an injury. He doesn't look like his full self. You know, there's times where he had the ball one-on-one with his guy, and I would have expected him to just, you know, sometimes Kieran knock the ball forward or at least try to take him on. Yeah. But as soon as he had the ball, you look up. Fair enough, he didn't have many options to hit, but he would go straight back.
Yeah.
And then recycle back to Tierney, straight back. I don't think Palace asked him too many questions defensively again. So it's a tough one with Tierney. I would have probably given him like a 5.5, but I'll give him a 5. I'll stick with the 5 for him. Wasn't
I mean, he was an outlet, but in terms of they were really looking for him a lot on the left hand side. I feel like I don't know what's going on. Yeah, I just don't see that same player that we had last year yet. I'm not sure how we're set up in front of him, because at times, like when I saw Kieran Tierney attacking down the left-hand side, the only option he had at times, until Lacazette. Until Lacazette came on, it just seemed like we didn't create much overloads on the left hand side. It didn't seem as much. So he often went back because I think it was easy to mark out whoever was on the left wing, whether that was Emil Smith Rowe or Martinelli when he came on. But I still think I want to see more from Kieran Tierney. I have to admit, and yeah, he hasn't got going yet, and he had that big chance at the end.
Yeah, I almost forgot about that.
I think he was unlucky with that, to be fair.
Yeah, he went for full power, man. He should be placing that at least, man. He's a professional footballer. Come on, he hit the target from 3 yards, 4 yards out.
Yeah,
he should be smashing the target, man. So I think he just went for full power. But he's a left back. He's not a striker, or midfielder. So yeah, it's one of those things where you think had he scored, then going into the last few minutes, it could have been interesting for Palace to see whether they could have held on. But yeah, what would you give him then?
I'll give him 5. I'll give him a 5 again, or 6. I'll give him a 6, maybe a 6. He didn't do enough going forward. He was just all right. But yeah, 6. I'll give him probably. What about the Thomas Partey?
Thomas Partey, 5. He was responsible for the goal. Bit sloppy. Not like him, but yeah, no, I'd have to give him a 5 because just for that goal alone that he conceded, put us in a sticky situation. But at the same time, the manager didn't help him because there's certain moments in the game that he looked like he was on his own, and we'll probably get to Ødegaard in a sec, but I don't think him and Ødegaard worked too well in that midfield.
Yeah, I'm giving him a low mark as well. I'll give him a 5/4. I thought yesterday, I'm not sure. I think it was a foul that for their goal, but yeah, I would actually give I'd give him a 5 as well. I think he was pretty poor. His decision making was poor. His shooting was a little bit better than normal. But yeah, I'd give him a 5 out of 10. Yeah, he had a howler. Maybe even 4 I'd give him. I don't think he was good at all. I
wouldn't argue against it, man.
But then again, he's been asked to do so much, and like I said, at one time I saw him go to their fingertips. Slow down. That's what he's saying to Aaron Ramsey.
Yeah, he's tired, isn't it?
Yeah, and that is a massive concern. That is a massive concern. So yeah, it's poor. But I think that's one of his worst games for us yet in our Arsenal top. Yeah. All right, let's move on to Ødegaard.
Ødegaard for me was poor again. I think probably 4, definitely for him. I don't think he influenced the game in either defensively or attacking.
Yeah.
I think we even, normally one of his best strengths is his work rate. And I think that was missing yesterday.
Yeah.
We didn't see the same work rate that he's been putting in. So for me, the fact that I don't think he created many kind of opportunities for his teammates, and the fact that he didn't contribute to our gameplay, I'd have to give him a 4. He's literally anonymous.
Yeah. I'm going to say I think Ødegaard's been poor, not just today. I thought he's poor against Brighton, and I actually don't think he was that good against Tottenham. Everyone was raving about him. He was playing the high press, and that probably did help us a bit. But I think he's been poor for a long time. I think Burnley, when he scored that goal against Burnley, but barring that, we've got a lot of players not playing to their full potential right now, Bon. It's not quite clicked, I don't think, for a lot of players. Seeing him play at the deep lying defensive midfield, when I tuned in, it looked good. So I'm not sure it's something we have to give up on straight away, because I would like to see how it would look if the team was firing properly. But it seemed we went into our shell, and that obviously, if we're not on possession based, if we're having Ødegaard in there, part of it has to be retaining possession. and he's going to be like the creative spark from a deep line player, or someone you can trust to pass it into and look after it. And but yeah, I think he works so hard, and I'm starting to wonder if all that hard work is a detriment to what he does when he gets. Is he tired when he receives the ball and making his decisions? Because yeah, I don't know. He's not. I don't know.
Yeah,
Just
and I
really
guess the question is, are we a possession-based team? Because I don't think
well.
we are a possession-based team. And if we were a possession-based team, then you get the best out of Martin Odegaard, because
Yeah.
he'll be kind of dancing around in them holes, finding them holes very easily. Yeah, I'm just trying to think if do you remember that comeback we had against West Ham last season?
Yeah, that's his
where he
best
was
game.
outstanding.
Outstanding.
I'm just trying to think. He actually was more in the attacking side, wasn't he? He wasn't actually in that defensive midfield position, so or that centre midfield position. So I'd rather see him further up.
Yeah.
And just persist with someone like Lokonga in that central midfield position, rather than maybe pulling Odegaard back, because we're not that possession based. I'd rather see Lokonga grow in that position and then just try and see him evolve there and just keep Odegaard in the same position. Because if you keep moving him around, I know obviously it's just a slight change in position, but if you move him around, then we're not going to see the best out of him. And maybe that's probably why we didn't see the press from him as much as we've seen in previous games, because he's playing in a different position. So maybe I've been a bit harsh with him there, and that because I didn't see it, but maybe his role was slightly different against Palace.
Yeah. Would you stick with it or not do that again?
It hasn't worked the 2 occasions that we've done it. So for me, I think I wouldn't say failed, but I think we're not getting the best out of him in that position, because you want players to be playing in positions where you think they can have the most influence. And because of the fact that I don't think we're our possession based from what I've seen at the moment, we will get the best out of him being pushed further up in that 10, and then having a Lokonga behind him in the 6 or 8 position. So,
okay. What about Nicolas Pepe, Bomb? What did we give Odegaard, by the way? How much did you give Odegaard? 5?
No, I thought he was our worst player.
4 player, okay.
4. Yeah, the worst or one of the worst players. So
Nicolas Pepe then.
But Pepe, I'll have to give him a 6. He wasn't great, and he wasn't one of the poorest players on the pitch. I know he's frustrating, and he frustrates the hell out of me in how he plays. But I give him a 6, and the reason I give him a 6 is because he had an impact in the final third. Despite
that's what he's hanging on to with dear life. That's the only thing.
Because he's one of the few players that could come out of last season with credit.
Yeah.
Because for him to have had the limited amount of starts that he had last season, and for him to have got the amount of goals that he scored and the amount of assists that he got, he doesn't get the credit for that he deserves. So, I understand that people want to cling to the price tag, and, I understand he's frustrating with his first touches. And, I heard that there were some discussions with him and Arteta as well during the game. But for me, the fact that
what were those discussions? What are they saying about those discussions?
There's some kind of heated debate between him and Pepe.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
I'm guessing Arteta is not liking what he's seeing, because I think he was playing on his side, so Mikel Arteta can see exactly what he wanted. I don't think, and from the exchange or the animated exchange, you can probably see why he's on the bench 9 times out of 10 and not playing. But in terms of the game on Monday night, I'd have to give him a 6, because he did impact it, and he got don't know if you call it an assist or the pre-assist or whatever you want to call it, but he created the opening for Aubameyang to score. So
I'm starting to get a bit frustrated with Nicolas Pepe. I'm really getting frustrated with him. Like, I was someone who was supporting him. I know there's a player in there, but yesterday I was hugely frustrated with Pepe, because I feel like when I play 11 aside, if you want to play in the attack, one of the attacking players, You have to contribute. And all I'm seeing from Pepe is dancing and then passing backwards. That's all he's doing, dancing and passing backwards. I'm not seeing Pepe take on his man enough. I'm not seeing him deliver anything into the box. I'm not seeing him create chances. All right, he had a shot that was saved in the first minute, and it was a goal. But besides that, he did a little cameo flick and trick near our left back, pull it through someone's legs, and then passed it into Smith Rowe, I think it was, who cleared it straight back to them. But I want to see that sort of stuff happening in their box, not in our area, in their area, and then I want to see him getting into them areas and making something happen. And I'm not seeing enough from Nicolas Pepe. I don't think he warrants being in our starting lineup.
Yeah, and that's why he's on the bench.
Yeah.
You know, the only thing that I don't like at the moment is seeing him play in a position where we don't seem to be getting the best out of him. You know, I'd rather just kind of like just change him up a little bit. If he's not getting any change from him, why persist with playing him in the same position week in, week out? Let's try and see if, we can get some change out of him by trying him in different positions in the team, in the attacking. Try him in that I don't know, centre forward position sometimes, or try him on the other side, on the left. And I think if you look at last season, I may be wrong, a lot of his goals came from the left, wasn't it?
Yeah, from the right. I think he got a lot of goals from the right.
Did he start on the left then and then moved him on the right? I can't remember which way around it was.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. And second, I think he got quite a few goals from the right hand side.
In the Europa League, but I'm talking about in the Premier League, where a lot of his goals came at the same position.
Yeah, I remember him scoring quite a few from the right hand side, but but he did get a few games on the left hand side as well. I'm not disputing that. You're right on that department. So what are we giving him, Bon, out of 10?
I give him a 6. I can't give anyone pretty much a 7, or I don't think.
Oh no chance. Really, he's got no chance of getting a 7 from me.
I wouldn't give him a 4 because he wasn't our worst player. I'd have to give him a 6 because he did. I'll give him, despite the fact that it's frustrating, he did give us something to cling on to in that 1-0 lead. So
I normally give, if you get an assist or anything like that, I normally give you a 7 at least. Yeah, but I'm giving Nicolas Pepe a 5.
Harsh, man.
No, I don't think it's harsh. I don't think it's harsh. I don't think it's harsh. I think he's out there pretending. He's being a great pretender right now. He's not offering what a winger should offer Arsenal Football Club. Remember where we're coming from, Bon. Remember where we're coming from.
Let's not forget that, though. That's the thing. I know we're expecting him to be in the starting lineup, but he's not good enough to be in the Arsenal starting lineup. So he's a bench warmer.
Well, he should be pushing for a start. He should be pushing for a start. There's no doubt about it. His quality. He should be pushing for a start, but he's not producing the goods, and it's frustrating for a lot. He had a shot that was saved, and Aubameyang tapped it in. But
an assist, bro, pre-assist. He got the assist. Come on, put some respect in Pepe's name.
Yeah,
man.
but then what did he do after that? Nothing.
That's it. Just put your feet up, man. He's done his job. He got the assist.
Oh man, we need more. We need more. If I need more from Nicolas Pepe, man, that's not.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, and I do get it. The fact that he can't be comfortable, and let's not forget he's watched these youngsters come in and take his spot. Literally, just like move him to the bench and say, "Look, that's where you're staying." So we want to see some attitude when he comes on. I mean, even against Brighton when he came on, he wasn't impressive. So we do expect more for someone that came in and with such a big kind of wave, and on all that expectation. And for me, I've learned to put the price tag to one side, and I'm trying to look at the player for what he is and for what he's produced for us. And I think, last season he doesn't get the credit for the goals and the assists that he got. People are praising Lacazette, for all of these goals and stuff like that. But, I don't think Pepe gets the same amount of credit. But, you're right, though. At the same time, we expect more. We need consistency. You know, I'd rather have that person that's on the wing providing consistent results. And I think the fact that we can't play that possession-based football is because man like Pepe gives the ball away too much. So we can't rely on him. And I
I'm
guess
not,
on his position, you know, you can expect them to, you know, expect him to play some type of risky football because you're expecting him to kind of take his man on one-on-one, and he's not going to win every challenge. He's not going to, every cross isn't going to find his man. But that's what I'm expecting from someone like Pepe.
well,
And yeah,
don't forget when he came, he said he wants to be like Messi. That's what he said.
Z, man, come on. You
That's what he
can't be
said.
saying Messi and Pepe, man.
I know. That's what he said. He was selling people dreams. I I was watching it. I was like, rah. And when you see the price tag, you're thinking he is not living up to his price tag. I know you don't say you talk about the price tag, but he's not. There's a reason why we must have spent this money. We have. I'm not going to say it yet. I need to. He needs to get his head down. He needs to get his head down and get back to that last season form. And that's the thing. A lot of these attacking players have not hit form yet, which is probably why we are struggling in this area. It's Emil Smith Rowe.
He was poor as well.
Mm.
I don't know what he done in the game. I saw his running. You know, he's trying to put the effort in. He's trying to work hard, and you know, yeah, it had no impact on the game for me. So I'm gonna have to give him the same as Odegaard and say 4 for me.
Yeah, 5 again for me for Smith Rowe. Um, I'm starting to wonder. I hope he develops his football IQ, but at the moment,
So what, you think he had an average performance?
I think he worked quite hard. I think he tried to pick up the ball in areas, but he wasn't. He had a poor game. I wouldn't say he had a 4 out of 10 game, but
I
I think
think for me a 5 is an average, and then a 4 was below average. So I think he was below average for me, which is why I give him a 4. If he had an average game, I'll probably say like a 5. But
I was wondering, out of all some of the players that I said were guilty of hiding, I was wondering if he was one of them. But I need to see if he's good enough to play in that number 10 role, because there was the number 10 role. It's all about your most clever, creative, intelligent player, and I'm not sure Smith Rowe is any of those yet. Like in terms of he had a chance to slip in Pepe for a one-on-one, and he goes and tries to shoot from 30, 20, 25 yards out, just outside the box. We saw Joe Willock doing that time in, time out last year. And I don't want to have another one of these type of players on our hands. He's young, lot to learn, but I want to see if he's got that creativity to play in a number 10. Or were we premature in giving him the number 10 shirt? I don't know.
I don't think we've seen enough of him in that position this season because of the Odegaard effect. You know, we're not seeing Smith Rowe in that preferred position. And I guess yesterday in isolation, you know, he started in that 10, and then the second half is moved to the wide position. So we didn't really see enough of him for me to kind of say one way or the other. And yeah, you know, I still think the manager's kind of got into his head in that when he said, I want more goals from him, he's now in them positions rather than what he would have done previously, to pass it to a player in a better position. He's thinking, I need to get goals and assists to improve my stats.
Yeah.
And there's a difference between that elite level player and that youngster where they're still improving, and they've got to go through those different stages, you know, go through those different experiences. And I think for him that, you know, he needs to be able to have the balance of knowing when to give it to a player that's in a better position and when to shoot himself. And I thought Henry was perfect at that, you know, and obviously you can't compare him to players like him, but Henry was at that elite level where he just knew that he can pass the ball, but he will still be breaking the goal scoring stats, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, no, today, like yesterday was a bad day at the office for him and for a lot of players.
Saka,
I didn't really see enough of him.
First half, so,
you know, standard.
His season hasn't started yet, has it, Bob?
Not yet, no. And I think it's there's a lot of things with Saka and our attacking play, and we could probably do like a chat on talking about our attack alone, because you know there's so many players in our attack that hasn't been hitting form. recently, and it's all good pointing the finger at the individual players, but I think when you've got 3, 4, 5 players
not firing,
not producing in that attacking third, then you got to start looking elsewhere, haven't you? You got to start looking at the management and whether the training sessions are getting the best out of these players to put them in positions where we can, get the most out of them. So
okay.
yeah, for me, Saka, I'd have to give him a standard 5. Really, I probably would give him a worse rating because, I didn't think he was that impressive in the first half. Although I hear that I missed the first 20 minutes, but I heard that he's probably one of our better players in that first 20-minute period. But because I haven't seen enough of him, I have to give him a standard 5.
All right. Yeah, same for me for Aubameyang. He worked hard for the first initial half. I don't know if he burnt himself out.
Saka.
Saka. Yeah, sorry, Saka. Yeah. Anonymous. There was times when I was actually thinking, is Saka actually playing? We just got pegged back further and further, and he's up against Joe Ward, but after he was kicked, I mean, that was at the end of his night. But I still feel like Saka's season, like we just said, hasn't got started yet.
Don't you think, though, the fact that when he plays on the right-hand side, he has a much better game, much better performance than when he's on the left?
I do think that, but I also saw him last year play on the left and have decent performances. So I don't want to say that he can't play on the left or he's exclusive for the left, because I know a lot of people are saying he should be playing on the right, and he does get good stuff happening on the right. But he did have a lot of games last year on the left. I just think Saka's struggling to find form yet.
And for me, I think personally it's because of the fact that we're playing in the wrong area. I think you just stick him back on the right. For England, he's playing on the right and he looks decent. For us, he should be on the right. I don't, move Pepe to the left. If things are not working, why persist with it?
Yeah, but what my point is, like last year, we could have put him anywhere and he would look like a crazy player.
No, but if you think about it, people were surprised when he made it into the Euros squad, because they're saying that these first half performance was good in terms of his output, but then the second half of the season, as the season wore on, his numbers kind of dropped, and people talking about, you remember the early part of talking about who's the best youngster with Foden and Saka and Greenwood, them guys there.
Oh yeah,
and like Saka was carrying us, for the whole season. Before that, he was literally carrying us, and I think we just burnt him out with the amount of games we're giving him. So he kind of tailed off. And he went to the Euros and has come back, and he's kind of been the same, really. In the final third of the season last year, he's kind of carried on at the same effect for us. So, I think that the best performances that I've seen from him has been on the right hand side. I know he's kind of had good performances on the left, but for me, in terms of the consistency that he provides, he's much better on the right hand side, and then just move Pepe on the left, or even bring Martinelli in.
I think it's time. Does he look like he needs a rest, Saka, by the way?
Yeah, I think so. He's a young player. Let's not forget. Under Emre, when he kind of first broke in, I don't think we've actually given him a rest. He's come in, played for Mikel Arteta, carried us through the whole season, 18 months. Had the whole COVID effect where he had no rest. He's gone straight into European Championship, not really much of a break, and then he started the season again straight away. So
it needs to be protected.
I think it does need to be protected as a youngster. We forget he's only just turned 20, right?
Yeah,
so we need to be giving him the rest that he deserves. And we thought, well, the fact that we're playing one game a week should be sufficient to give a lot of our players a rest. But, in his case, I think he needs more like the mental rest rather than the physical rest. When you play so much football, and especially as a creative player, where you rely on, like instincts and being creative and creating those moments in the game, I think you need to have like a full, switch off from competitive football for at least a good couple of weeks, 2 or 3 weeks, and then you come back and go again. But we can't afford to give it to him because I think
Well,
Mikel Arteta's under too much pressure.
if he's not producing the goods, it might come to a point where we don't have a choice. We have to take him out of the firing line.
I think the only way that I can see that situation happening is if he gets a big injury and he's forced. I don't see Mikel Arteta resting him personally because he relies on him too much. And I don't think, if you look at our wing position and you list the players, you've got Saka, Pepe, Smith Rowe's playing there at the moment, Martinelli. If you look at those players I've just mentioned, the one that the manager relies on the most is Saka. So there's no way that he's going to rest him under his own will and the pressure that he's under. I'd love for that, Z, but I can't really see that happening.
Okay, so let's go to Aubameyang now.
Aubameyang, I liked his work rate, and I thought he looked a lot more like a captain in that first half that I watched.
Got his goal.
He was trying to lead the team for a change.
Yeah.
He was working hard, and the teammates just couldn't read the press. They just couldn't. So for me, I would have to give him. I'll say 6.5, but I'd have to give him a 7. I think he was our best player on the pitch.
He worked hard. He tired towards the end. He faded out in the second half. But then when Laka came on, he came back. He started to link up well with Laka with little one-touch combos, which is what we needed ages before. So I'd actually give him a 7. I'll give him a 7 out of 10. Yeah. All right. What about Lacazette?
Yeah, Lacazette was good when he came on. Had about 20 minutes or so. And I think he influenced the game. He did exactly what we wanted him to do. He was physical. He was holding up the ball. He was bringing players into play.
Yeah.
And I just don't think he had long enough to kind of have a proper impact. Although he got his goal. And he's one of the guys that I was saying to you before that he should have started this game for me. Everyone else has been on international duty. He's there, kicking back at the training ground and just loving life. I thought, this is the game where he's had, we're comparing Saka and the fact that Saka's played so much football. Whereas you look at Lacazette, where he's played hardly any football. So I was looking at this game thinking this is perfect for him. He's had a good few weeks, say rest. He's not physically exerted himself. And he can demand, he can cope with the Crystal Palace centre-backs better than, say, Aubameyang would have done. But in terms of his rating, I'd have to give him a 6.
Yeah. All right, then, okay. I would give him actually the same. I'd actually give his work rate was good. I'm not sure if he can now actually be our lone man up front.
I think there are games for him. I think there are games for him to kind of play, and I think there are games that would suit Aubameyang more. And I think in this instance, what is the point of having him there if you're not going to play him? Just bring him on the bench all the time.
What happened? Was Nketiah on the bench yesterday?
I don't know, man. I'll have to check it out and see.
Lokonga.
So I've just checked, and there was no Nketiah on the bench.
I wasn't.
No.
I wonder if he's injured.
Lokonga, for me, he was poor again. I don't think he influenced. He had the impact that the manager maybe envisaged he might have.
Arteta actually said that the 3 subs were good. That's what he actually said.
I don't know why he's trying to cover himself.
Yeah.
Nah, I don't think the 3 subs. Okay, Lacazette was good. Martinelli was okay, and Lokonga wasn't up to speed. Even though he came on the second half where you think he would have warmed up and been up to speed as he come on with everyone else. So I just don't think that he offered us that defensive stability that we needed alongside Partey. I don't think it offered us the offensive passes as well. So for me, he just kind of kept the game ticking in midfield. Really didn't really do much. Wasn't impressed.
Nothing.
He wasn't great. He wasn't
easy. It was easy and safe, but not the quality for Arsenal Football Club. Not the quality required to be to beat Crystal Palace yesterday.
Yeah,
So
and I think it wasn't. I think that the challenge that he had on him was he could have been a bit more kind of stronger in trying to resist that challenge for me. If he saw it coming, because sometimes when you see a challenge coming in, as a player, you position your body in a way that you guarantee you're going to get the free kick or the foul.
yeah,
And
yeah.
I think the way that he was at the time, the referee could be in an angle where he can't really see, like you say, if it was a foul. So for me, I think that it shows some naivety in some of his game. But in terms of rating, I'll have to give him a 3.
Oh, that's harsh. That's harsh. Um, yeah, I think he showed naivety. Even when he's fouled, he turns to the ref and puts his hands up like this. What he should be doing is trying his best to grab whoever's ankle it was that was running away from him.
I think it was too late. If you watch the replay, I think he tried. You know how you stumble in? He tried to stumble himself onto the guy, but the guy just skipped past him. But yeah, you're right. You should have
Get your
just grabbed
hands,
him.
rugby, grab
Should
him
have
with
just
your
grabbed
hands.
him. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if they're trying to that. Yeah, he's just got to try and grab him with his. It was a foul though. So we spoke about Lacazette, Lokonga, Martinelli when he came on. Were you happy with him?
Yeah, Martinelli looks bright, man. I always like the kid, man. He's one of these guys that just puts a smile on your face when you see him come and the way that he plays.
Yeah, well,
he's very positive and stuff. But on the game itself, he kind of whipped a cross in. I remember him whipping a cross in for Lacazette. No, sorry, Aubameyang. And I thought maybe Aubameyang could have read that a bit better in the far post. And similar to the Pepe goal, I think if he read that a bit better, then he maybe might have done something. But he didn't really have much options. Like with Tierney, when Tierney was on that side, he looked up and literally no one forward in a forward position for him to pass to. So with like Tierney, where there wasn't the option to play forward, Tierney just goes straight back.
Yeah.
That what I liked about Gabriel was that when he looked and he had a couple of touches, like you say, when he held the ball up for a few seconds, just to try and draw one of their players towards him, and then he cut inside, and then he would look up for an option. That's what I like about him. He's trying to kind of provoke something. Provoke like them breaking their form. So, but yeah, no, I think that was probably the only bright spark or the bright moment that I've seen from him when he came on. So, yeah, standard 5 again.
Yeah, I'd actually, yeah. I think I saw enough for him to think that he looks like he's ready to be starting now. He looks like he's pushing. When he came on, I don't think he got enough time, but when he came on, he wasn't happy just to keep passing back. He was looking to be that guy that wanted to commit some challenges. And when you're playing against a team like that, sometimes you need someone just to say, I'm going to run at you. I'm going to run at you and see what you got. This is what Saka used to do. Saka used to get the ball and to think, I'm getting at you. I'm going to get at you. Get your head down. I'm going to get at you. That's what Saka. He hasn't done it so far this season, but that was one of
the problem you're going to find with him as well is he's a marked man. The first time you break through, no one really knows about you, and you can have the freedom to do what you want. And then, as soon as teams start looking at you and in their preparation, seeing what runs you're doing, putting 2 on there. And you look at Pepe, for example, always having a go at him, but he's always faced with two defenders.
Yeah, but that should free up. That should free up. Someone else should be free. That's
and that comes back to tactics. That comes back to the way we play.
But I want to go back to that point. You're right. He is a marked man, and I want to get to these officials now. This is just to finish up. I know we're going up to 1 hour and 50 minutes.
Manager now.
Let's go. Let's go to these officials, Bon. Let's really get at these guys.
For me, I look at both challenges, and I don't want to be, I don't know, what's the word? Sour grapes about the officiating, because yes, it was terrible, and yes, I hated. There was a classic example of when Saka, just flung out a leg to foul one of the, he pulled out a leg, fouled one of the Palace players, and the ref was just so quick to brandish. Man, I didn't see how quickly he just literally boom straight away dished out a yellow card. I was like, right, okay, that's how you're going on. But then when you look at MacArthur moments before then, I think it was moments before, He had like a cynical foul, and the ref didn't even give him anything. He just had a
Yeah.
chat with him. And I think
Yeah.
a similar thing happened with is it AU as well, where
Yeah.
he kind of brought down. Actually, he stopped our attack, because had we gone past him, we would have been in a offensive position with a lot of players. And he brought our players down, and the referee just waved that on. And then the worst thing, what compounded it, was the MacArthur challenge, where he just literally just took out Saka.
Common assault.
You know, the referee had it was a clear line of sight. He looked at it and he just thought, you know what, I'm just going to give him the yellow card to kind of keep you guys happy, and that was it. And because he dished out that yellow card, and because he had that clear view, you couldn't then get VAR to come in and say it's a clear and obvious error, because the referee had a clear line of it. You can't then re-referee. You cannot re-referee that incident, because the referee had a clear line of the incident, and he brandished the yellow card for it. So whereas a red card would come in is probably if it was a dangerous, like sometimes you say a dangerous tackle, the referee didn't see it, then VAR would normally come in and say, okay, then ref, I think you need to take a look at this. But the fact that there was no one in his line of sight, he had a clear look at it, and then VAR just said, okay, then that case is done and dusted. But for me, we're always going to have issues with referees, and that's always been the case. That's not going to change. So I don't want to be getting into the, let's blame the referees for the fact that we couldn't get a result. For me, I'm looking at more the tactics and the manager. And I think had the tactics and management been different,
make no qualms. Make no qualms about it. Make no qualms about it. The manager and the tactics is an issue, but what is an issue is the state of these referees. I'm not going to let them get away with it. I'm going to talk about it because it's disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting.
The referees are just shit. That's all it is, man.
No, but certain teams don't get this treatment that we get. When we looked at last year, we saw the same thing. If VAR decisions, they don't use VAR the same for Arsenal the same way they use it for other teams. And they had a table last year which showed how much higher up the table had the VAR decisions gone our way that should have gone our way. Yesterday is when you play in the Premier League, players like Saka, the Premier League is a brand of football that's to be enjoyed. And they've kicked out a lot of the thuggery that happens in football. And those challenges that we used to get of leg breakers, where players thought, do I really want to go to the Premier League? Where players like Eduardo got his leg broken, Diaby got his leg broken. They've kicked it. They've changed the game to advance it. Let's not go backwards because Mike Dean has something against Arsenal that he's allowing thuggery to happen. What happened to Saka yesterday was thuggery. And the guy lumped him and he knew what he was doing. It is the referee's responsibility to take a red card. It was so bad to the point we had to take Saka out of the game. It's unacceptable.
I agree.
It's unacceptable. It's not well, you've got to talk about. You've got to. All right, we're finishing up.
These referees, these referees get away with it all the time. All the time. I mean, I remember Wenger once saying, I can write a book or I can make a case about all the refereeing decisions that we've had. It's beyond a joke. It's almost a joke. Like, conspiracy and all that kind of stuff there. But
I knew I was trying. Sorry, Bon, to cut you, but I was watching Mike Dean because I know what he's like, and I'm thinking, is he up to his old tricks? When I saw MacArthur make that cynical yellow card near the halfway line, I forget who cut across him. He didn't pull out a yellow card, and I said, "That's cynical." All right, then. So maybe he's not. Saka makes
even in the commentary, I was listening to it, and they said that should have been a yellow card.
Yeah, and then Saka makes a shackle that's not really the yellow card. I didn't even see it. Yellow card came out so quick. I didn't even realize he pulled it out. I didn't see him even. It was like he was holding his hand ready.
Yeah, no, and that's just a challenge that we have as Arsenal Football Club. I mean, in theory, we're kind of the big club, and a lot of the times the referee want to make a point, against a big club when you're playing a smaller team. They want to kind of even it up a little bit, and then that's why when you look at the challenges that happen at Burnley, for example, and the amount of yellow cards that we had compared to Burnley, you think that we were the one that was being physical, and we were the one that was kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? looking for the challenge. I can't think of the right word. Is it pro? No, I'm not even trying to say it, but yeah, you know, it's a similar story against Crystal Palace. You know, like the fact that these referees are so shit that not one of them made it to the Euros. Let's not forget. And then they've been watching the you know, the officiating in the Euros, and then all of a sudden in England we're trying to change the way we officiate to like be more like the European Championships that we've just seen. But these referees are not of the same standard. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So what's the point of like trying to officiate like the elite level referees that we've seen in the Euros when you're just shit anyway? There's no accountability. You know, Mike Dean will have a poor performance against us, and then the next week he'll have another big game, and then another big game. There's no accountability. So, you know, I'd love to see something similar to what they have in rugby. I mean, you know, things are very clear and transparent, and referees could come out and explain the situation.
Well, all he says is go away, go away. He doesn't want to reason with anyone. Go away. He's just so arrogant and pompous. Guys, anyway. Bond,
it's one of the things, but you know, at the same time, I still think we shoot ourselves in the foot. What's your thoughts on? I guess finally, what's your thoughts on the manager then? And what's your rating for him?
Mikel Arteta, I think he was poor. 3 out of 10. 3 out of 10, because I think he was. I don't think it's a question of he's not good enough to do the job. I just think he got it. He was. There's no plan B. And I guess this is where he's learning on the job, because normally under these circumstances, like, I'm not saying to change your whole system and formation, but clearly we need a way of playing if a team's going to press us. Like, we need a variety of options, and there was no plan B. And the only plan B was to put Lokonga in there for the same sort of shape. He's persisting with this 4-3-3, which I think was an error. Crystal Palace did not come out how he thought they would, and which is why we lost. And he didn't have the nous to change it. He allowed us to be under the cosh for that long. And I don't know what he could have done, but I'm not paid money to understand what he would have done. What he might want to have done is change the personnel in the midfield, but he did. He tried to put. He tried to go to 4-2-3-1. Maybe he should have gone to a 4-3-3. I don't know, but that's what he's paid money for, and I just feel like he got a lot of his decisions wrong. Leaving Martinelli off for that long. Emile Smith-Rowe. I mean, I think in this team, if you're not performing, you have to be able to be dropped. And I still feel the jury's out on a lot of players. You have to earn the right to be in the team week in, week out. How are some players going to learn to how they're going to hold down their position? If they play crap, they're not being hooked. You need to be hooked. If you're not playing well, you need to be hooked. Emile Smith-Rowe yesterday should have been hooked. Pepe yesterday should have been hooked.
So who would you have taken off at half-time then, if you're saying that how that was? Or would you have made the change at half-time?
Yeah, no, we needed to make a change because Saka was injured. So maybe
let's say Saka wasn't injured. Would you have made the change at half-time? Or would you have just given them the pep talk, tweak something in the formation and then change it? Or would you have just said, you know what, I've seen enough, I'm going to make a change now?
So what I might have done is I might have taken off Emile Smith-Rowe. I might have taken Emile Smith-Rowe on and gone to not a 4-2-3-1, just gone to a 4-3-3 and bring in. I don't know if I would have brought Lokonga in. Lokonga, the jury's out on. Like, Lokonga looks like a tidy player, and I'm not saying he's not going to make it for us. I'm not saying he's rubbish, but we needed more of a destroyer. Now, who's the destroyers on the bench? I don't know if Niles was on the bench.
He was, I think so. Yeah, he was on the bench.
Yeah, so I would have bring on maybe Niles as a destroyer, and
Elneny was on the bench as well.
No. And I would have left Odegaard on.
Come on, man. You know, Elneny does work hard though. That's the thing. You know, he would have given us something. So you know, you rather put Ainsley in there, and let's not forget, man. You know, Elneny's. You know, the Egyptian Messi would have come in and done some bits for us, man.
No. I think the quicker we move away from Elneny, the better. I'm done with Elneny. Like, I'm not forgetting what I've watched. I'm seeing Elneny make passes that are ridiculous, ridiculous passes that are just like, come on, man, what's going on?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I would have to.
I've
I'd have to agree.
I've seen him not have anybody around him and play the ball backwards. It's like, what's going on? There's no full one touch.
That's what I was seeing with Tommy yesterday, man. That's what I was seeing with Tommy. But no, for me, I'd have to look at the manager and have to give him a two or three, because I thought that, you know, the one thing that kind of irks me is his post-match comment about, you know, at halftime he said to the players, "I want you to play for that second goal and add more risk." And he said the players just didn't listen. They, you know, you can see like the way that the second half was going, they were just being more defensive. So whether, you know, either if he's saying something to your players and they're not obviously responding to it in the form of how they played, how they started that second half, that's not good enough. That's when you start hauling players off, and that's where you start, you know, berating them at halftime to make sure that they understand exactly what's at stake. Yeah. And for me, you know, you talk about there wasn't a plan B, but I couldn't even see what the plan A was. Yeah. You know, you look at your players and you say, go out there and play for 20 minutes, give me your best, and then after that, that's it. Let's just see what happens. For 3-0 up, then we'll just try and keep defensive. And I think as well, we looked at the Norwich game, you know, the games that we've actually won, and we're trying to hold on to the lead, and we allow the opposition teams to regain possession, you know, and we're always saying, well, you know, we're giving them possession in a way where we're trying to be defensive. And you look at the Spurs game, and we were quite lucky in that, you know, we managed to see that game out, and that could have been different had a couple of goals, you know, a couple of their shots kind of went in. You know, Ramsdale made some good saves. You know, the referee didn't give the Harry Kane pen, for example. You know, that game could have been a lot different because we couldn't manage that game. And, you know, it goes back to what you're saying is we've got a lot of youngsters, you know, in the team, playing against one of the most experienced, you know, team in Crystal Palace. They just knew, they had the know-how and the street knowledge to be able to see the game out. Or obviously in the last few minutes, you know, the fitness showed, but that's just how their season's gone from the previous games. They've been leaking in the last few minutes, and that's just, you know, we got lucky. But for me, you know, after Norwich, I wanted to see with the youngsters, I wanted to see like his style of play starting to develop. I understand that we've got a young squad. They're going to be inconsistent. I can take that. But what I want to see is like there's a build-up play. There's some kind of cohesion between the goalkeeper and the front line. You know, I want something to kind of give me the hope that he's going in the right way. And I can see that now he's got his goalkeeper, he's got his back line. We need these relationships to obviously build. But in terms of the way that we're playing, it's for me, it's just I was watching a game and I said to you I was stressed and I was just like bored. You know, I was looking at the fullbacks and they didn't know what to do, man. You know, and Mikel Arteta's got to go back on the training pitch and just kind of like, I don't know, like as a fan, I want to see the Mikel Arteta style of play, and for me, I just don't know what that is because it just comes every, you know, too few and far between. I don't understand what his style of play is. If we're going to be defensive, at least we can understand it. If we're going to, you know, there's a style of play of playing defensively. You know, there's a way of playing offensive. There's a way of being more possession based. I don't think we're possession based because we give the ball away way too much. Defensive, you know, our possession stats against so-called weaker position isn't that great. You know, offensively, we're not having as many shots at goal, and we're pointing the finger at our attacking players as individually for having poor performances. So I think you look at it as a collective and you think, you know, there's a reason why they don't seem to be as free. They're not as spontaneous in their play. And we're used to seeing that, you know, the Wenger ball where players just, you know, they practice stuff so much. They know where everyone is without even looking. They know where the ball's supposed to be because of what they're putting in like on the training field. I want to be seeing that with Arteta and these players, you know, and yeah, I'm not going to be saying let's be Arteta out because I'm not I'm not going to be that reactive.
Yeah.
I still think I want to wait until Christmas for him to kind of develop that style of play. And at the moment, let's be real, is it 6 games unbeaten?
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
we keep it ticking, man. 6 games unbeaten.
And we move.
Is it 3 wins, 3 draws? We go on to Palace now, and
Villa.
Palace, Aston Villa now, yeah. And I'm afraid of Villa. I'm afraid of Aston Villa. I don't know what's going to happen. If Palace can do this to us at home, and Villa, all of their players coming back, boy, it's going to be a tough afternoon, man, on Friday night.
Yeah. All right then, Bom. Well, let's wrap it up there, man. Good talking, man, and we'll probably speak before the Villa game and get a breakdown for that one. Yeah.
Yeah, man. Peace.
All right, peace. Take care, man. Thanks for watching. Bye.